What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh. This is Overlanding Now, and today what I want to talk about is the walk around for the 2021 Jeep Gladiator that my wife got me for Christmas. Now, if you see behind me, you notice that we have the JL on your right and the Gladiator on your left. So I don't know if I even touched on this in the video that I uploaded on Christmas that kind of just went over, you know, having the Gladiator and how I got it. But we don't intend at the moment to get rid of the JL whatsoever. There's still a lot of work to be done on that rig, so I have a laundry list of things and a bunch of stuff stacked right here beside me that I have to get done to that rig. Now, with the introduction of the 2021 Jeep Gladiator, there is also now a full build sheet that I've built out that I'm going to be doing rather quickly. So this build is going to go from 0 to 60 a lot quicker than everything that happened on the JL. And that's just because now I really understand what it is that I want and what I need out of an overland vehicle. Now, in this video, we're going to go over the basic components that I went with from the factory for the Gladiator. And then at the end of the video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over my build sheet. I'm not going to get too in depth, but I want to show you guys or tell you guys what it is that I plan on doing with the Gladiator in a few short months, to be honest with you. So thank you guys for choosing to watch the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you can come along for the adventures. And let's get right into the walk around for the Gladiator. Now, as you can see, I'm still inside the garage. Two reasons. It's blistering cold and it's extremely windy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through the walk around, and after I'm done, I'm going to go shoot the B-roll. I'm going to overlay the B-roll of me talking, so everything's going to come together pretty nicely. But the first thing I want to talk about, which was a must-have option when we got the Gladiator, was the front and rear steel bumpers. In my opinion, I believe that the front and rear steel bumpers, the OEM factory parts, are the best looking bumpers for the Gladiator or the JL. I love the sleek design. I love how they've given you the option to remove those two end caps and make that a stubby bumper. It has the spot for the winch. So everything with the steel bumpers on the Gladiators and the JLs, how they come, I absolutely love them. And I don't plan on changing anything in terms of the bumpers. So when we were purchasing this, well, my wife was purchasing it and we had talked about it in the past, front steel bumpers was an absolute must. The other thing that was really important for us is the cold weather group, which is the heating steering wheel and the heated seats. Now, the heated seats and the heated steering wheel may seem like a bit of overkill, but Jeep has the best heated steering wheel and heated seats I've ever sat in. And when you're out on an adventure and it's, you know, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees outside, and you're hopping in and out of the vehicle, whether you're recording a shot or you're traversing some crazy terrain and you need to kind of pick your line and see what it looks like, then it's a lot better to have the heated seats. So that was overkill, but for us, it was something that was important, and I really wanted to make sure that we had the heated seats and the heating steering wheel when we got this, or when I intended to purchase it before I was surprised. The third thing that we got on the Gladiator that is absolutely probably the coolest feature, and I know there's some aftermarket options for this, but if you're not, I'm not an electrician by any means, and I'm definitely not an automotive electrician, but the front-facing trail camera. Obviously, the JLs and the JTs, and I don't know if the JKs had the rear-facing cameras, but those cameras are obviously great when you're backing up on a trail. The only thing that kind of sucks is if you have a trasheroo over your spare tire, you can't really see the trail when you're backing up because it's covered. But the front-facing trail camera on the Gladiators, and that's on the new JLs, is absolutely freaking awesome. This was a must-have. If the vehicle did not have this option, I would have had no interest in getting it. And I'm glad that she took the time to find it, because this is a 2021 model, so they're kind of hard to find with everything that you want. And building them from the factory, who knows how long it's going to take to get here. So having that front-facing trail camera and the ability to see what you're coming up against when you're on a trail, especially when you're going over a peak. and you don't know what's on the other side and you're facing up, you can't see what's on the other side. That trail camera is going to give you a line of sight a lot quicker than you coming up over the top of it, and before you know it, you're nose down into a situation that maybe you weren't ready for. Now, obviously, if you know anything about the JTs or you know anything about the JLs, you know the Rubicon Edition all comes with a front and rear locker. Obviously, that was absolutely important, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons I went with the Gladiator. I've always loved the Gladiator, but like I said, we drove the Defender, we drove the 4Runner Venture. What else was I looking at? I was looking at the Ford Raptor because I had one of those before. And in my opinion, the 2021 Gladiator is the most efficient off-road vehicle that you can find. Now, I would not say it's the most efficient on-road vehicle. Driving this, any Jeep on-road, is never the most comfortable experience. But I was willing to sacrifice that on-road comfortability with the off-road capability that I knew I was getting by going with the Gladiator. So having those front and rear lockers factory and solid front axles, which allows you to do all of that articulating you see on the trail, it keeps all your tires planted and you're just moving through those trails so much more smooth, and it's not as scary of a process. You'll see a lot of 4Runners, and I watched a lot of videos on the Defender, and they're on 3 wheels a lot of times. And if you've ever rolled any type of vehicle or a RZR or anything off-road, that's a really scary situation, and I have. So for me, having that full articulating suspension is something that I was not going to sacrifice, and that's honestly what has brought me back to the Jeep platform and why I wanted a Gladiator so bad. Now, the other thing that's I absolutely love about these vehicles, and it comes stock on all the Rubicons, is the disconnecting front sway bar. It's an electronic disconnect. I'm sure you guys know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but that is such a big deciding factor for us because, once again, it gives you all of that articulation that you're looking for when you're in a tight spot on some super tough terrain. So having that come factory, now I know that a lot of people say that, you know, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, they've gotten so expensive and their prices are way inflated. I wouldn't disagree, but everything inflates over time, and it really comes down to what is the most important for you. When my wife was looking for this, and when I was doing research in the past, I could have got a 2020 Jeep Gladiator used, 5,000 or 6,000 miles on it, and the cheapest I could find it was for between $48,000 and $50,000, and that's got 10,000 or 15,000 miles on it. Or you can buy a brand new one for $55,000 with all of the incentives. So honestly, I would rather spend the extra $5,000 and get a vehicle that's never been driven on the road other than by me. So that was kind of our thought process, and that's why that disconnecting sway bar for us, I mean, it's a peace of mind thing that when you're on a trail and you know you can get that articulation, it just makes you feel more comfortable behind the wheel. So this Gladiator came with the Falcon Wild Peak, I believe. I'm not looking at it right now, but the mud terrain tires. And the JL came with BFG KO2 all-terrain tires. And what I'll say is these tires are super aggressive, and I'm honestly kind of upset that I'm going to be modifying everything so quickly because I feel like driving the Gladiator is so much more comfortable than driving the JL. And I think it's just because it's that longer wheelbase. Having that longer wheelbase just gives you a greater comfort on the road where you're kind of not being bounced around as much as you would be in the JL. Now, the mud terrain tires that came on it are awesome. The Fox OEM shocks are awesome. They just did such a better job of giving the Gladiator better components, in my opinion, especially when it comes to suspension, that it just rides so much better. I was telling my wife, you know, I've driven Cadillacs a lot in my life, and we have a 2018 Cadillac ATS-V that's in the other garage, and it drives super smooth. And I was telling her, like, the Gladiator really drives a lot better than what people probably give it credit for, because if you're a Jeep guy or you're a Jeep girl and you're coming from a JL or a JK or a TJ or any of those other models, this is completely different. And I wasn't really sold on that when I was being told this by people, but having a couple hundred miles under my belt in this vehicle now, I can honestly see where they were coming from. The last thing I would just want to touch on, and this isn't really about a walk around, this is the wind noise in the Gladiator versus the JL. I'll probably do a comparison at some time, and if you guys want to see something like that, put that in the comments. Let me know. The comparison on the wind noise, I know that the JL has different components. It has the rack on top. It has bigger tires. So it's not necessarily apples to apples, but just getting in the Gladiator and driving it around town and driving it up and down the highway, the vehicle is a much quieter ride all the way around. And my wife even said, like, wow, this is really quiet for a Jeep. So I am going to be doing things to make it even more quiet, but I'm actually very impressed with the way that this vehicle has handled and just driving up and down the highway and not sounding like you have your windows down all the time. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of go over a little bit of the build sheet that I've been working on, and I've been working on this for months. This isn't new. I've had this build sheet kind of just when I see something that I like and I find a good price on it, or I see something that I think makes a lot of sense for the Gladiator. Like I said, I've always wanted one of these, so having the chance to kind of do a lot of research, I've just been plugging things into my spreadsheet, and I kind of built the spreadsheet out to create formulas, so it tells me like the overall bottom dollar of how much it's going to cost to do all these modifications. Then I can delete things if I want to delete them. Kind of nerdy, but it really gives you an understanding of what it is that you're going to be looking at when you go into building this. So I'm going to grab my phone because I don't want to like go over everything, but I am going to tell you on this sheet what I've already purchased, what's on the way, and then what you can expect from this build as it kind of takes flight here, because it's going to go pretty quick. Now, I've already bought the ARB dual compressor. Obviously the Rome cases that if you've watched that last video, you saw I did a little bit of, gave a little bit of information about the Rome cases. I'm going to do a full Rome case video because I've gotten several comments where people want to know about the Rome case specifically and, you know, give better camera angles of that case, things like that. Now, I went with the KC Flex Era 3 lights for the A-pillars. That's something different than what I've done before. I have the Rigid Industries lights on the JL, and there's 4 of them. So I'm going to go with that KC Flex Era 3. It's going to be the spot in a high beam, or the spot and flood combo. So I think it's going to do enough that I don't need to have 4 lights. I see a lot of people with a ton of lights, and quite honestly for me, having a lot of lights is absolutely useless. I mean, if you need that much light, I don't know where you're at, but very rarely have I ever needed to use all of my lights just so I can see. I mean, it looks cool, but it's also extremely expensive. So the KC Flex Era 3s. Now there's a new company that I found that is, the guy who owns it is super cool, and they have a really different mount for the compressor that goes in the rear of the Gladiator, and that's 813 Fabrication. And I'll link 813 Fabrication, their information down below, because I think it's something that you should take a look at if you're considering putting a compressor. But they also have a lot of other Molly panel designs and a lot of different mounting options for the ARB compressor. I don't want my compressor inside the vehicle because I will have a very small child with us, and if she's taking a nap or sleeping, that means it's probably nice and quiet in there, and I don't want to have to open the door and turn on the compressor. So I want that loaded in the back of the Gladiator so I can get out, I can access it, I can turn it on and turn it off. Let's see. I am going with the Metal Cloak 3.5-inch Game Changer lift on the Gladiator. That is scheduled to be dropped off February 8th. And with that, I'm getting the, I forget what wheels they are from Black Rhino, but I'm getting 37s. I've already purchased the 37s. Those are, let me see, I forget. Who makes those? I don't know, but I got some 37-inch tires that I completely forget. Oh, Patagonia's. So I got some Patagonia mud terrains that I got on sale. So I'm gonna have those put on the Black Rhino wheels, 3.5-inch lift from Metal Cloak, and then I'm also doing a full steering unit that's going to be installed as well, just so it really tightens up that steering, because this thing is going to kind of change its geometry a bit. So I want to make sure that all of my steering components are intact. Getting the flash cow so I can calibrate the speedometer so I'm not going faster than I think I'm going. The alignment, and I've also purchased a Carolina Metal Masters ball mount for the interior. I also have the Vector off-road bar that goes up front that you connect all your devices to. So I'm going to be installing that. There's a lot of stuff sitting around the garage that I just have to get done, and obviously, you know, with the new year coming, it's a bunch of stuff to do, but I'm going to try to kind of rush through it in a good way so I can just knock things off my list. But that's what I have so far for the update on the Gladiator build. Now, if you guys have liked this video and you found it helpful, or if you have any questions, like the video if you like it, put some information in the comments about your Gladiator build, because I would love to know some different ideas. I'm really looking for I might go with a cap on the back of the bed as opposed to a bed rack. I'm working with a company now that is super cool, and they're going to send me a bed rack that I'm going to kind of test for them, and I think that's going to be a really cool option. I'm not going to, you know, spill the beans on that yet, but I will show you guys that once I have it installed. So there's just so many different options that I'm looking at, but I appreciate your guys' time. Once again, like the video, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. See ya.